Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, wanting to do a little bit of a comparison video. Not something I typically do, but there are three clone troopers on this table, and they are three very different clone troopers, even though you're like, oh hey, those are all basically 501st. I understand that there's a 332nd in the middle. I will explain. The Black Series has done three different clone trooper bodies over the years, and I wanted to do a little compare and contrast video. So, kind of just going to talk about the evolution here a little bit and see how things go. So, yeah, I guess I'll start off by telling you a little bit about each of these bodies. So, this is the Archive 501st Clone Trooper, which is a reissue from the 4-pack that came out in like 2017. However, this body has been available with a Phase 1 head, especially, all the way back in like 2013, very early 2014. And it is very dated. It is from one of the first waves of the line. I believe it was Wave 4, which is where we had that like bad face Episode 3 Anakin. And this was our definitive clone for years. And you know, even back then, it was a little bit clunky, but it was our only clone trooper body, so we just kind of rolled with it. And it is what it is. In 2020, we got a new packaging design for the line, and in the first wave, they gave us the Camino Security clone. And then pretty immediately after, we got this Walmart exclusive 332nd clone. Now, the reason I'm using the 332nd clone instead of a 501st clone is that this body mold never actually got a 501st put on it. And so since it is basically a 501st with a helmet repaint, I'm going for blue clones here for consistency's sake. But yeah, this pretty immediately got reused from the Camino clone body. And, you know, there was a lot of improvements between these two. Let me go ahead and set the 2023 version off to the side and just compare them. So for starters, this new 2020 body is a head-to-toe new mold. It does not reuse anything from the 2014 body. It is completely re-engineered. This figure on the left had a lot of dated articulation, pinned joints. You know, there was no swivel at the knees or the elbows or anything. It was just a very dated figure. Now, for the time, it was okay, but man, it didn't take long for us to be like, hey, these newer figures in the line are getting really good, and this feels very dated anytime we get a clone trooper. But sure enough, they gave us every commander on this old body before deciding to re-engineer it. So anyway, 2020 comes, we get this new clone, head-to-toe new sculpt. He has butterfly joints, the elbows swivel, the knees swivel, just greater range of articulation. The joints don't like click, you know, because like this guy's got this thing where it's like, you know, you bend the knees and it's like it snaps into a position and then it snaps into another position, it snaps into another position. It really makes it a pain to get figures into certain poses, whereas this guy just has smooth joints, you know, just goes where you want it to be. And so it was a very good upgrade for the time. Now, people have complained that it has a slightly animated themed stylization. I won't disagree. This does look a little closer to the movie costumes. I'll also counter and say that during Revenge of the Sith, all those clone troopers are CGI, and if you look into costuming groups like the 501st Legion, they have had nightmares doing film-accurate, you know, clone trooper armors, because being all CGI, they didn't have to make a costume that could actually fit a person inside, and the proportions of the movie costume don't actually fit a person inside, because it's not a costume, it's a CG asset. So the live-action Disney Plus shows have started to sprinkle in a clone here and there, and it does seem to be a little bit more in this direction. So like this is kind of like a blend of movie and animated, and then it's actually looked pretty decent when it comes to the live action appearances too. And it's a little bit slimmer, probably slimmer than a true person could fit inside if it was blown up to 1-to-1 scale. But I don't mind the proportions being slightly different, you know, especially because of the range of articulation you get with the 2020 body. It was an insane improvement. And I'll openly say, in this great year of 2023, we still are happy with the 2020 body. AliExpress uses it for knockoffs all the time. It has good articulation. I don't dislike this body. I mean, I'm happy with this one, but as of today, the day of recording, October 1st, and this is going to go up like a week and a half later, we just got this masterpiece, which is Clone Commander Appo, or so they say. He has no distinguishing markings. He's basically just a 501st clone. You could army build him and use him as such. And everything that the 2020 body did right, it did, and then everything that this did wrong, which was very few things, this fixed. This is a pretty definitive clone trooper body, I gotta say. So setting the 2014 off to the side, as I mentioned, this guy has leaps and bounds improved articulation, but one of the things that really bugged a lot of us is the shoulder pads are glued directly onto the shoulders. And I will say that is the same situation here. If you go to raise the arms, that's all you can do. It's not much. On this one, you can raise it up to about a similar point, and then the shoulder pad can actually go up over the shoulder, but that really warps it if you leave it up high like that for a long time. At the same time that this body got released, Hasbro dropped a Stormtrooper body that had a design where the shoulder pad is actually on a strap that goes into the arm socket with a ring around the pin inside. They didn't do it with the Clone Trooper, they only did it with the Stormtrooper, but you see here, it's actually mounted up high. It's on a little strap that goes in to a ring around the peg that goes into the arm. It allows you to truly raise that arm well above shoulder height. And the shoulder pad just works its way down the arm to wherever it needs to go, exactly like the costume would be were a live-action asset, which is excellent. Another thing that the 2020 body did that kind of bugged a lot of people. It worked better in 2014 because the knee pad was in the center of a double jointed knee, so it just kind of like went wherever the joint was, and it looked all right, except it kind of gapped all to hell because articulation isn't natural when it comes to figures. On the 2020 body, they just glued it to the shin. Now, gluing it down is not necessarily a problem, but being a knee pad, when you bend the knee, it completely leaves the knee exposed. A lot of people kind of said, hey, why glue it down at all? Or why not glue it to the shin so at least it stays over the knee when you bend it? Well, Hasbro elected to just not glue it down at all. So when you bend it, it kind of sticks up high, but then it works its way down the further you bend the knee. So it does kind of cover it better. And then if you work it down on your own, you can put it wherever you want it. That looks a lot better as far as knee protection goes. So that was just one of the few small gripes that has really made a pretty decent difference on this figure. Another thing they've done is they've actually given him a left-hand trigger finger in addition to a right-hand one. It's subtle, it doesn't stand out super far, but that's going to be awesome for dual-wielding pistol officers going forward because they did not have the ability to carry their left-handed pistol correctly. So all in all, this has actually been a really nice improvement of a figure. It also features a modified torso where the armor is an overlay over a jumpsuited torso and underneath, whereas this was all solid plastic. I will say that doesn't make a giant change, but it is a difference between the two here. Otherwise, I do believe the arm and leg sculpts are basically the same, at least the forearms, and then, the legs from the hip down, maybe even the abdomen down. This also features a upper bicep swivel, which does help with some of that arm articulation for two-handed gun posing. So all in all, they've really just added a lot of articulation to this guy that this one didn't have. This one is still a fun figure to pose, but I gotta tell you, whenever I'm doing any sort of figure photography and I've needed 501st clones, I've known that this has been my only option. I just know it's going to be a miserable day because they don't stand very well. Just look at him. This dude looks awkward. This dude looks like he's clenching hard. He's looking for the bathroom. The only way to get him to stand upright is just to kind of hunch his legs together. They're all bow-legged. He's got to just kind of awkwardly lean forward, and there's not a lot of great fun posing to be had here, whereas this guy with all sorts of modernized articulation does everything that you can want an action figure to do. This one's not bad. If they use this body on the occasional store exclusive here and there going forward, I'm not going to get upset. I know some people will. This is definitely the better body to use, but I understand if that shows up here and there. This is such an improvement. It makes me so happy as a prequel fan at heart to know that Hasbro is still willing to throw a decent amount of budget at a retool that's really going to improve such an important body going forward. There are so many clone troopers that we don't have in the line, so many legions that have not been represented, so many legions that got represented 8 years ago and are on this body and are awful that I would really love to see come out on this body. So I really hope that Hasbro takes advantage and stops giving us just 1 or 2 clone troopers a year and really says, hey, we've got this new body, let's do like one every 2 or 3 months, and just really milks it, because I'm an army builder. I love Clone Wars, I love clone troopers, and they've got me hooked. This is the way to go. So honestly, it's really hard to rank. I would say it's really hard to not rank in a certain way. Every time they've released a clone trooper body, it's gotten better and better. So 3rd place, 2nd place, 1st place, no doubt, no question here. And I will say, since this body has come out, Every now and then, they've given us a gaming greats or a mainline where they use this body, and it pissed me off. You know, I was like, man, why not just use the good body? If we ever see this body again in lieu of this one or maybe this one, I'm going to be really pissed, because this sculpt was good for the age, but it's 10 years old. Hasbro, it's time to retire it. Throw the mold out. Don't even give yourself the temptation of it. These two, and of these two, really this one is the one to go with going forward. So anyway, that's just me doing a little comparison, a little conversation, a little talky talk about clone trooper bodies. What do you think? Do you have any disagreements? I think it's pretty cut and dry. I think it's hard to disagree, but if you have a different take, absolutely say it in the comments down below. I'm always down to talk about action figures. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Subscribe, of course, if you want to be in on that Darth Maul giveaway at 1,500 subs. And I'll catch you next time. Until then, may the Force be with each and every one of you. Bye.